All right, and welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast for your round 23-24 debrief for the Betfred Super League. Magic Weekend come and gone, and oh boy, did it present some absolute thrillers as on this day in Newcastle. Well, before we get into that, we got to look back on the action of the Magic Weekend, and it starts off the Castleford Tigers getting up over the top of Salford 29-18. I'm just going to run this into you because the
Of course he
Dragons are
can.
done for the year. So that's St. George, not Catalan.
Yeah.
Salford are still your team, and you got your Magic Weekend kit. So I'm just going to run it down your diagnosis.
Go for it. Look, it was a competitive match. I have to admit that it was very competitive. Both teams put up a good fight, and it was only a try at the break, so well, it was tight. But Castleford were just a better side.
Your defense through the middle let you down. It
Yet
did.
again.
It did.
Again.
You let Paul McShane jump out of dummy half. Reigning
Yes.
Man of Steel of the year. Reigning Man of Steel. Well, of course, Player of the Year. And then he sets up Daniel Smith on a hit and spin after pulling the Salford defence out of line. And then Jordan Turner's try, where he bounces crossfield off Adam Mill, and then he goes through you again. It's just all soft tries.
There certainly were soft tries from, Salford led in soft tries, like you said, but obviously Gusford picked it out better, and the defence Salford's defence was not there yet again. That's just been a weakness all season long.
I'll tell you what, Salford, what they lacked in rugged middle defence, they did try and compensate with flamboyant attack. I mean, they picked out, in lead up to Ken Seo's try, Michael Shenton had already shot up far out of the line. So then you get Dan Sargentson, who's on the other side of the field, mind you, left of Senate. He recognises that Shenton's out of position. So what does he do? Skips cross field, he'll turns it back on the inside to Lahir, who then finds Ken Seo. Then Salford's first try is scored. And then quick hands, and all the way out to the left edge, and you got at Joe Burgess going through. So they really, I mean, they can throw the ball around Salford. I will give them that, but their defence, again, I got to say that defence.
Yeah, it was good lead-up work for that one. Like you said, Salford can throw the ball around, but the defence is poor. Look, I'm not quite sure with the injury to have a little bit in the warm-up, with the calf injury in the warm-up, if that played a part or not, because I had to bring in Roberts with Costello going to the bench, so that would have...
the injury, was it? I think it was Harvey Levette from memory, wasn't it?
Yeah, Harvey Levette calf injury in the warm-up, so that would have played a bit of a factor. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but that might have played a bit of a factor.
Because I think Richard Marshall is beyond looking for excuses at this point. I mean, we all knew Salford were going to have another tough year. Yeah, just all that emotion from the grand final that they made against St Helens, and then it got compounded by the fact that they made it to Wembley against Leeds and lost that final as well. They have not recovered from losing Jackson Hastings and losing Joey Lussick. Those are two big losses they've had in the last couple of years.
They certainly had.
Eyes torn apart. I mean, they've been recruiting big, Salford. I mean, they tried getting Callum Watkins. So far, it hasn't worked out, and then he got himself injured for the rest of the year. Dan Sargentson, I wouldn't say hot and cold with Dan Sargentson, because when he's been on, he's been a game winner for Salford, but when he's not there, it's just, yeah. And of course, Joe Burgess, one of the major marquee signings, hasn't had a lot of game time this year. I mean, fallen out of favour. Rhys Williams has been getting more game time than Joe Burgess, and Burgess has played for the Wigan Warriors in a whole slew of grand finals. Unlucky not to win one of them.
Yeah. But I'm not saying that Levette's injury in the warm-up was an excuse, but also Castle had no Richardson, no Truman, no O'Brien, and they still managed to bloody go with Pete Mataudia and Jordan Turner in half. So they still managed well with Castleford with all those changes.
Yeah, that's been a funny thing about Castleford all year. I mean, against lower ranked sides, they've looked good. I mean, against your Leeds, against your Salfords when fielding full strength, they've been world beaters, and they knocked off the champions in a close one. But the rest of the time, against your Warringtons, against your Wiggins, and your Leeds and your Hulls, well, depending which hole you're talking about there, they just haven't stood up when it matters in the big games.
Yeah, it's kind of like comparing Castleford to the West Tigers over in the NRL.
Oh, you can't compare them. Castleford and the West Tigers are two different beasts altogether.
But what I'm trying to similar, from what you're saying, is the Tigers West perform better, barring the Bulldogs, can play better against lower teams than what they can in top teams, and this is like what Castleford's like, in a way.
It's the big games aimed at count. I mean, we can all right. Fair enough. They did it did go over the top of Warrington in the Cup semi-final, but then lost that to St Helens. They got downed by Catalan, 3 tries to 1, and then of course, if they didn't play that game against St Ainton, they fell foul of that. But then they've lost games to Huddersfield, and Huddersfield has not been the best all year.
No, they have certainly not.
And with the run home Cass have, next game they got to play Hull Kingston Rovers at the Hull College Craven Park, and then they got a final game against the Warrington Wolves before the top 6 playoffs kick in. They need to beat Hull KR if they want to stand a chance of making the top 6. Otherwise, it is game over for Darryl Powell in his final year before linking up with the Warrington Wolves.
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough ask for Castleford, but whether or not they can pull it off is going to need a miracle.
Just convince me you can put an 80-minute performance against a fellow top 6 contender with the 2 holes nipping at your heels, and Leeds, if they get a win against St Helens, they'll lock away 5th place, and then they'll have nowhere to hide.
Yeah, so it really comes down to, like you said, Castleford's next match against Hull
KR. It does.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a little bit further up the ladder, and we're talking right at the summit, the League Leaders Shield got decided, and the Catalan Dragons come away with their first League Leaders Shield in Super League's history, downing St Helens 31-30.
It was a
What did
cracker.
you watch?
I honestly do not know. It was a thrilling game, and Catalans, in the last 10 minutes of the match, really turned it on. They were down 30-14 or 30-12.
I thought it was 24-6 at one stage. And not to mention, St Helens were attacking when Mark Percival was in the sin bin. The moment he comes back on, he stands and delivers. Sione Matausia's first try, was it, or was it his second?
First try.
Sione Matausia's first try. So it's just like, all right, we got 12 men on the field. We're playing against the top side in Super League this year. We're going to just hold on. We're actually going to score against the run of play.
Yeah, and I certainly did do that. And it went into Golden Point, so it was made it very, very exciting indeed.
First time in the Magic Weekend that a game has gone to Golden Point extra time. But before we talk about Golden Point, we've got to talk about the Catalan Dragons comeback.
Yeah, like I said, in the last 10 minutes, they were down 30-14 or something. They were down by a bit, but they just come back in the last 10 minutes to level the game as the full-time siren went.
It is an all-forwards effort. I mean, well, almost all-forwards effort, but I think you get Bousquet going over, then it's Dean Vare, and then right on the full-time siren, Josh Drinkwater puts the kick up, and it comes down with Big Sam Cassiano.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, don't know. You never see a forward contest the high ball and score very often. You do not see it happen, and it happened with Cassiano.
This was a day for Josh Drinkwater. I mean, despite only running for 14 metres all up, 1 tackle break, but 3 try assists, including the match-levelling try, right on the full-time siren.
Yeah.
And then just James Maloney just icing the cake after almost 8 minutes of going at it. 8 minutes out, 2 minutes out from full-time, like proper full-time, finished with the draw. Who else but James Maloney to knock over the drop goal that hands Catalan the league leaders' shield?
Yeah, the ever reliable Maloney. He's done it again. The Catalans will miss him next year.
Well, they will. So it's now or never. And I think that's what the Dragons are looking at. It is now or never for them. They got the league leaders' shield. Now the expectation is, for the first time in Super League history and, frankly, British Rugby League history, they got to get to Old Trafford and they got to win.
Yeah, it really cool.
For the first time in 126 years of British Rugby League, they have to do this. They are flying the flag for French Rugby League at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly need to pull it off and win the Premiership this season. They've done so well.
Extra special as well, because one division down in the Betfred Championship, Toulouse have also claimed the Championship League Leaders' Shield. So they're also top of the table in the Championship as well, and will get the first week off in the top 6 playoff structure.
Wow. So I presume Toulouse also got the minor Premiership on the same weekend as Catalan. So what a good day for the French. Both their teams in the Super League and the Championship both wrapped it up.
And it's much more remarkable about Toulouse because they have not had a home game in the south of France all year long. They've literally been like the hermit team. I mean, Catalan to an extent was practically a hermit, but they've actually been able to have home games in the south of France, whereas Toulouse haven't, and have just absolutely flown. And by a miracle that Featherstone and copped points deduction as well, because we've got to remember Featherstone were practically challenging for the Championship League Leaders' Shield as well. Points deduction comes up, and then all of a sudden Toulouse shoot to the top of the Championship table with only 2 weeks left to play.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant performance by both French teams, and the French flag will be flying very, very high.
And the top 6 as well, and I want to mention the Championship. I know we have gone slightly off because we've jumped from Super League to the Championship because we've got to talk about Toulouse. I did say yesterday that there was some sad news, and it's involving one of the top 6 sides in the Championship at the moment, and it's the London Broncos. I said yesterday it was a sad day for Rugby League because London have announced as of next year they're not going to be a full-time side. Meaning they're not going to be in it to try and get into Super League.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate news there for the London Broncos. They've been in the Super League or British Rugby League for a very, very long time.
40 years. Founded Super League all the way back in 1996. I mean, they've had a couple of good odd years, but they've been up and down, and it's just come to the point where they said, in response to the RFL central distribution funding dropping somewhere between 10 and 15%, they've made the hard decision to say, look, we're not going to be a full-time squad this next year. The costs are just going to be too much for us to try and keep up with where the game is going, so they've decided that they're not going to maintain a full-time squad on anymore, but focus on development for rugby league in England's south. And I'm just trying to bring up the state. I was just trying to bring up the article where I saw all this from. Anticipated cut with the reduction from the television deal, and this is just as they were getting their home ground sorted out with their move to Plough Lane Stadium in a sharing arrangement with AFC. Well, then this was a statement that they said. Following what has been a very disappointing season for the club and its supporters this year, which has seen the Broncos fall way behind the pace set by other teams in the Betfred Championship, including several part-time sides, it has been decided that in 2022 we will adjust our squad to that of a part-time team as part of an overhaul of the first team squad. And they go on to say that the club will be receiving a vastly reduced central distribution next year, and we have had to make changes to offset this reduction, which has led to the decision that has been taken by this club. But that's unfortunate.
It very is, and look, I hope that they do come back to a full-time squad in the future. I
don't know where this will sit with expanding the game to England South, because they were practically flying the flag for the south of England in terms of offering up expansion for rugby league, and they would have been and they were talk about, as we recall from Shane Richardson's interview, and I will link that back in the description below so you can hear what the idea was for Super League in 2023 beyond. His plan was that 5 teams already from England's north were already locked in. The Catalan Dragons made 6, and then the remaining 4 spots would be opened up there as well. London might have been teased as a potential Super League franchise for a 10-team competition moving forward. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, we certainly do, and look, I hope it does happen for him, but you just never know. It's up to the London Broncos and what they decide to do ultimately.
I think it's ultimately it will be up to the RFL and Super League to see where they want to take the game forward. Ultimately, France is a good thing for them. They think there is a lot of opportunities in France, and of course they're getting a lot of things going their way. Rugby World Cups, Paris 2024 Olympic Games, the 2025 Rugby League World Cup, as well as the push for the French Elite Championship to be made a Tier 1 competition again. So to raise the standards of the French domestic competition to that of a Tier 1 sport, so they can get the exemptions necessary to try and get out of France to travel to England, essentially.
Yeah.
When it comes to those cross-channel test matches and arrangements.
Yeah, look, the French, like you said, have been flying high all year in both Championship and Super League, and the plan that Shane Richardson had, it sounds pretty good. Hopefully it comes to light.
So, just getting back on track now, I still think St. Helens, they've still got a lot to offer, and of course, their draw or running home is, I wouldn't say it's fairly easy, depending how it goes, but it'll depend on how things stack up. But bottom line, they're not going to go anywhere, and they are definitely guaranteed of a top 2 finish.
Well, yeah, they certainly are. It's just a matter of, well, they'll be going deep into the playoffs, but whether or not they can come up against Catalans in the playoffs will be a different
it's possible
story.
that they could meet Catalan in the grand final.
Yeah.
They both get home semi-finals, and they'll face, well, I think Catalan would realistically face the winner of a 3v6 clash, so that could easily be either Warrington or the Castleford Tigers as it stands, and then St. Helens would face that between Wigan and Leeds if 4th and 5th as currently stand, I should say. So I definitely think it could be possible that as Catalan Saints grand final at Old Trafford is entirely possible.
And what an occasion it would be if that does occur. Like, we see the scorelines that St. Helens and Catalans have produced on the meetings so far this year, including the one on the Magic Weekend. So who knows? If it's the Saints Catalans grand final, we're in for an absolute blockbuster.
And adding to the drama for day 1 of the Magic Weekend, as if one golden point thriller was not enough, we get 2 golden point thrillers, but this time it's the Leeds Rhinos going up over the top of Hull FC 25-24. Oh.
Yeah. What
happened to, I can't really say the black and white, because essentially they were wearing their third kit. They were more or less the black and gold.
Yeah, that's
what went wrong for Hull FC again?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I have to say that Hull FC kit did look really spectacular in black and gold. It was a really good colour
they scored off kicks, both for Danny Houghton and for Carlos Tumavave, that they were just pulling Leeds out of position, both around the middle of their defensive line and down their left side defensively, especially with Tumavave's try. And I think they were rather unfortunate that they did not make it 3 tries off kicks when Andre Savelio got pulled back because Jake Connor was deemed to have knocked the ball on. But then again, Jake Connor with the 40-20 at a pivotal moment.
Yeah, that was a really good moment for Jake Connor, and he played that extremely well. And with the two kicks that Mark Sneed put up to lead to 2 tries was unbelievable. Pinpoint accurate and paid off. And it caught Leeds, not off guard, but it kind
Well,
of...
not napping, but they unsettled, I think would be the word.
Yeah, that one. Unsettled, bit unsettled, but yeah. And then Connor goes on to go and score a try, so... Yeah, unbelievable.
What Leeds did, and down their right edge with Cruz leaning, Reece, and especially Harry Newman. With Reece Martin's early try, that was just pure strength right there. It's like he probably had 3 or 4 whole players hanging off him, and he still manages to drive through, slam that ball down. And then Harry Newman, how good was Harry Newman? And honestly, first, the try he scores in his own does the same thing as Reece Martin. Then the 1 try assist where he sets up Cruz Leeming on the wraparound play, and he goes over the score in the corner.
Yeah, look, it was Harry Newman had an unbelievable game. I think it was one of his best this season. Like, he's had some absolute standout, but this one's up there.
From, I think, a double leg break as well. Ella missed a huge chunk of this season, and he still comes back, and he's just, it's thrilling. England honours are awaiting him, I reckon.
Oh, I completely agree. If they don't name him sooner rather than later, well then, it's never going to happen, but he certainly will be there one day.
He's got to be amongst the mix for one of the most informed centres in Super League at the moment, and for England. I mean, you look at Hardacre, you look at Mark Percival, who probably would be the 2 incumbents at this point in time. Harry Newman's got to be amongst them.
He certainly would be, and he's got a big future ahead of him, Newman.
And then, of course, it goes to golden point once more as Leeds drive their way back into it. Could have won it in 80 minutes if Reece Martin, hadn't missed a kick. Doesn't happen. Set up some drama. And then, once again, like the first game, a second half of golden point, and Cruz Leeming steps up for the drop goal.
His first ever drop goal in his career. A bit, when he kicked it, it was kind of a bit unexpected. I was expecting like one of the halves, like Jake Connor or Mark Sneed.
Cruz Leeming was in the halves. He and Robert Louis were the halves pairing.
Well, there you go, but Leeming's usually out in the wing, so... look, it was fantastic.
Oh no, he was playing dummy half. My bad, it was Milo and Louis I've got in front of me because Jack Broadbent was playing fullback.
Yeah, look, but either way, it was unexpected, or to me it was unexpected that Leeming got the drop goal. Like, it could have been anyone else, like one of the halves, like Louis, like you said, but Leeming stepped up to the occasion and nailed it.
He definitely stood up for the occasion, and he will keep Leeds in the hunt for a top 6 finish with a chasing pack, including Castleford and Hull Kingston Rovers, realistically at this point.
Yes.
Now on to day 2 of the Magic Weekend, and it starts off with probably Huddersfield's story of the season. Going down to Wakefield Trinity, 32 points to 18.
I don't know what happened with Huddersfield. They started off with a Will Price long-range try, but other than that, nothing. And Sam Woods crawling over from a Will Price kick, but other than that, there was really no much standouts for Huddersfield during the match.
And it's remarkable how well Wakefield are playing at the moment, because you look at them under Chris Chester, they were going nowhere, and now you look at them under Willie Poaching for the moment. I don't know what this is. I don't know whether it's a case like with Hull FC, there's no real pressure, but I think the difference between Hull last year and Wakefield this year, Hull actually made it into an expanded top 6, whereas Wakefield have got nothing to play for. So I think they might be playing well now. It's a matter of how well that translates going into the 2022 season.
Well, does Wakefield have a permanent coach for next year yet or not? I don't think they do.
Wakefield are locked in. They're not going to run 12.
No, but 12. Coach wise.
I think the call is they want Willie Poach. The players want Willie Poaching to stay,
Well, I can see why. Like, since he's come in to take over, they've been playing brilliantly. So why mess with a formula that works?
Well, I mean, they would have done the same thing at Hull, except they went for Brett Hodgson instead of Andy last. Us carrying on with that momentum, but you see how well Hull started before plateauing. Oh, it heavily depends. Mason Lino, he was meant to be Wakefield's big money signing, the big signing that would bring some stability into the halves, and I think he stood up well here. He had 2 try assists, 1 tackle break, 3 offloads, and converted all 6 goals put in front of him.
Good effort. He's been one of the best players for Wakefield this year. He stepped up to the occasion. Yes, he's had a few games where he wasn't at his best, but everyone has those off days. But he played well against Huddersfield.
And again, it was just unfortunate because I'm pretty sure, didn't Tom Johnson go down injured again, or he was HIA'd?
I believe so.
But just the way Tom Johnston played, just for that little time he did, and bagging yet another try. Where would Trinity be without him?
Probably absolutely nowhere, and not going as well as what they are if he wasn't there. But he's there, so they're flying as well as.
And then for someone like Lee Kershaw, who only came in during the Challenge Cup last year, he's flying at the moment. He's loving this starting gig.
He certainly is, and he hopefully carries that into next year. And yeah, he's playing really good as well. Like you said, since he's come in through the Challenge Cup last year, he's played really good starting as well. So hopefully that carries through.
Now this is a mouth-watering clash right here, and this was probably one most Wigan fans were probably waiting for, but not wanting the result. Wigan going down to the Warrington Wolves, 10 points to 6. Oh my god. They took their eye off the ball early. Way too early.
Yeah, they certainly did.
No, I mean, literally, 1 minute in, they didn't even last 1 minute before they let the ball bounce, and Josh Fulis is there on the end of it, scoops it up, Warrington score the opening try, and it's not even 60 seconds on the clock.
Wigan didn't let the ball bounce once, but twice. And there was some wit-up kick too, so it was unbelievable.
Oh my god, the fast start for the Warrington Wolves. That was just... I honestly believe they were just like... I was just sitting there in my bed, watching this game, and I was like, oh, here we go. Warrington are going to turn it on again, aren't they? Just like, when they turned it on against Wigan at the DW, when they ran out 40-14 winners, and then when they did it against Wigan again at home, 21-8, and then to do it again with George Williams in the halves alongside Gareth Widdop. But it didn't happen this time round.
No, it certainly didn't. It was a low-scoring game, and I thought it was going to be high-scoring and close. It was still close, but a low-scoring game, and Wigan just weren't there.
Well, I think they might have got riled up because George Williams goes over, and then I think that takes all the energy out of the game, despite the Ethan Havard try to make the scoreline look respectable at halftime. But I think he really riled those Wigan fans up, and they just got... And I think that would have translated to the Wigan squad getting unsettled themselves.
Yeah, they certainly did. And in the lead up to George Williams' try, Wigan's defence did come out to try and stop him, but Williams is like, nope, I'm going straight through and scoring a try. Since he's come, I reckon the Williams combination has clicked together very quickly. Steve
Price is definitely gets clicked, and that's why Blake Austin's going to Leeds, because the moment George Williams came into the club, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Blake Austin can see the writings on the wall. Widdop and Williams are going to be leading the Warrington Wolves into the Darryl Powell era, and he won't be there.
Yeah, but even the Widdop-Austin combination was going really well as well, but then you bring Williams and Williams-Widdop combination, it's going really well as well. So even though changing halves partner for Widdop, it's still going very well for the Wolves.
I think this is a game the Warrington needed to have, a strong defensive win, because they know if they make it through to the semi-finals, which I have no doubt that they will. They will have to play, I think, the Catalan Dragons in the semi-finals. They need
Yeah.
a strong defensive win when they wanted to play off against the top two sides. And if they make it past Catalan, then they will more than likely have to face St. Helens at Old Trafford.
Which is also going to be a very, very
I mean, they've already beaten Saints once this year, but Saints have given them a shellacking as well.
Yeah, that's true. So it's gone 1-1 at the moment. And if they make it to, if it's a Warrington Saints grand final, well, who knows? Someone's going to win that battle for the year.
Yeah, exactly. But I think they've got a very winnable road coming into this. And finally, the last game at the Magic Weekend, and I think Lee are just counting down the amount of weeks it is before they go back to the championship. After another poor display against Hull Kingston Rovers, 44 points to 6.
But they did take the surprise lead from Matthew Russell. And that's pretty much it.
If I had $1 for every point the Lee Centurions had conceded, $1 for every try, goal and drop goal that they had put on them, I guarantee you, we're probably going to be set up in a better studio, and we're probably going to be a much more professional product.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Very much so. It's just been the story of this season, and like you said, they will be, unfortunately, counting down to the championship.
And as for Hull Kingston Rovers, what they'll be counting down to is the next two games that they are in a very winnable position for. They'll be looking forward to see if they can make the playoffs and claim that 6th spot on the table.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they can still be there. They've got, who have they got? They crosstown rivals, and the Rhinos hovering around the same, like, all trying to fight out for that 6th spot. So they can still do it. It's just a matter of
and once again, Ryan Hall. I got to mention Ryan Hall. Another stand-up performance from him. One try in the corner, one try assist for Brad Takarangi. Just show and go, just floating crossfield. I couldn't believe Lee didn't shut him down sooner. Any other side would have wanted to shut him down sooner. 158 running meters, 4 tackle breaks, and 2 offloads. But what I saw of Hull KR, I think it's the same with what we've seen all year. A much improved Hull Kingston Rovers side that is still a chance of finals glory.
That is true. And I think they're building up to something big as the season's coming to a close. Who knows? They could be the surprise packet for the final or playoffs.
Everything just seemed to go Hull KR's way. Loose balls, score a try. One-on-one strips, score a try. Wingers running like 20 meters infield, show and go, and then link up with the second rower. Yep, score a try.
Yeah.
Just everything went Hull KR's way, and Lee just had no answers whatsoever.
No, even Matt Parcells' try. He looked like he's going to get held up, but somehow he kept the legs pumping and pumping.
That
and
try
pumping,
was just
and still going.
That was just taking the piss.
Like, Lee, any other team would have been able to stop that. But no, the Centurions couldn't. But it shows that Parcells got strength in his legs.
Well, that's the Magic Weekend for you. And we have seen Magic.
We certainly did.
Would I have it this late in the season? Probably not. I wouldn't have Magic Weekend this late in the season.
Mid-season?
Yeah, when I tuned in the Super League for the first time, they had it in round 15. So yeah, they definitely had it mid-season.
But with everything that's been going on, they thought, let's put it back until later in the year, I suppose.
Well, I think that was a pure decision just based on what the restrictions were at the time and what crowd capacity limits were. And they thought, if we can get through to September and we get the Magic Weekend and with 100% capacity, the crowds, then let's put it there instead of having it in May where we don't know if we're going to get crowds in.
Yeah, they might put it back into its mid-season slot next season. We just don't know.
Well, I think they might. the way the UK is shaping up, not that still having like 33,000 cases a week or so is good, but the vaccination rates would probably suggest that things are looking up in the UK at the moment. So I think they might be feeling confident. Oh yeah, let's put it back to its mid-season window, and we'll take the fans' critiques on board. We'll try and get some more Sunday games in there, because I think that would be better rather than have it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday UK time, which ultimately would translate to Sunday, Monday, very early in the morning. But just for the sake, if you want to have the magic weekend, get the families involved. Get it on family-friendly times, and I think you'll get more gate attendance than broadcast dollars, or broadcast pounds, I should say. But you would want to, if you were sitting at home and you couldn't make it to the magic weekend up at St. James Park, you would honestly want to look at the telly and you see, wow, I really want to go to that because there's a lot of people over 2 days turning up to this, rather than having it on like prime time and just looking, doesn't look that interesting, it's just another club game. What would you rather?
I'd rather packed out across the 2 days with families attending and everything, and trying to sell it to the fans by having a packed out stadium every year.
Well, I suppose as the old saying goes, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So, but it would be interesting to be on those RFL, Super League, Sky Sports boardroom or virtual boardroom calls, just to see how that broadcast deal will affect the take at the game. I think it'd be very interesting to sit on one of those.
It would be very interesting to see what happens.
We're just two guys on a laptop that just aren't real professionals. We're just trying to sound professional because we just happen to know the subject of the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, from round 23 at the Magic Weekend, round 24 and the Noose Titans for the top 6. We start off our coverage from the Totally Wicked Stadium, the reigning champion St Helens hosting the Leeds Rhinos at the Totally Wicked Stadium. And we do have squads named. Look, I think with St Helens, they don't really need to make mass changes to the sides that they have. Of course, no Johnny Lomax, who now might miss the rest of the season. No Theo Farge. No, Tommy Makinson was there.
Yeah.
I don't really think Saints really need to make any changes whatsoever. And I think that's the same story with Leeds. I think both of them will be looking to keep the same 17 that got the job done. Well, in Leeds' case, they definitely will be looking to keep that same 17 together. And I think Saints, they'll just be looking not to concede a drop goal or let a free try swing happen against them again.
Yeah, they certainly will be looking against that, but both are coming off wins, obviously, so why mess with
lost
team?
Saints, remember? Castellan playing league.
Sorry. So one narrow defeat and one narrow win. So I don't see why you mess with teams that are going so well, especially St Helens been going so well all year, practically the same team without Lomax and Farge. And Rhinos, they're trying to stay in the top 6. So why mess with the team to try and keep them going into the playoffs?
As I mentioned earlier, the equation for the Leeds Rhinos is simple. Win, you'll go to 13 wins from 23 games, and I'll just do a quick little calculation. That'll give them a win percentage of 56.52, so that means they will be tied up with the Wigan Warriors pending their result. But if they lose, and let's say they stick at 12 from 23, then it opens the door for the Castleford Tigers to try and get back to a little bit safer, and of course it opens the door for Hull Kingston Rovers.
So basically, the Leeds Rhinos need to win this match to stay in there.
This is do or die, because if Leeds win, they will have to go up. They will have to go back home up against Hull Kingston Rovers in the final round, and then that will become a sudden death qualifier.
Now that would be juicy. Everyone would love that. But
I would honestly have the Sky Sports cameras right there at Emerald Headingley, because someone's playoff hopes are riding on that result. I would have the Sky Sports cameras right there.
I'd say they would be. They might be listening to this podcast and say, "Hey, this is a good idea. We're going to do this."
If we were had a much bigger audience, I definitely think they might be listening, but we still are not there yet.
But you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah.
Oh look, the forward battle is where it's going to be key, and if you got, I mean, they're still missing Mikolaj Oledzki, who was very solid for Leeds this year, and of course made his England debut against the combined All Stars. But you got to contain Alex Walmsley first and foremost. Shut
And
Walmsley
Jack
down,
Wilsby.
you shut Roby down, and if you shut Roby down, then you take Dodd, you take Wellesby, and you take Lachlan Coote and all the backs out of the equation for St. Helens. That's what Leeds have to do.
But will they be able to execute is the question. Are they a strong enough team to do that?
Well, I suppose only time will tell on that front, but I don't believe it will happen. I think St. Helens bounce back from this loss to the Catalan Dragons, and I think they all win this. I'll be fair to Leeds. I think. Well, no, I would be fair to Leeds, but they are coming off high emotion, winning at the Magic Weekend in dramatic circumstances, and I think we saw, like with the whole derby, that can take a lot out of you. So I'm actually going to say St. Helens win 13 the plus.
Completely agree. St. Helens 13 plus. They'll just be the better side. They'll be looking to bounce back from that narrow defeat to Catalans.
And in our next run of games, we start off with at the MKM Stadium, Hull FC playing host to the Wigan Warriors. Well, Hull FC.
Well, it's going to be an interesting match, this one, to see if Wigan
It would
could
take
start
a miracle. I think at this point in the season, it would take a miracle for the Black and Whites to not only win this game against Wigan, but win their final game of the season against Wakefield away. So I think at this point, and you look at Hull FC's win percentage, 44.74. They have to get past Hull Kingston Rovers, depending on their result. So Hull FC have really got a lot that has to go their way at this point, and even if they do win, they will still fall short, depending if results with Hull KR, Cass, and Leeds go their way.
Well, Wigan, they haven't been the best as of late either, so...
Oh, no, I agree. I definitely agree.
So Hull
Wigan
do have a
shut
chance.
out defensively in the second half against the Warrington Wolves, whereas Hull let the win against Leeds slip away, and it ended up in golden point defeat. So I would have to have said Hull needed to win. Hull FC needed to win at Magic to keep their season alive. But I think, unfortunately, and I think this is exactly where I see all them go. At the start of the year, I was tossing up between whether Hull FC or the Warrington Wolves would be in my top 6 predictions. I inevitably, looking in hindsight now, I did make the right call, and I said that the Warrington Wolves would finish 6th and Hull FC would finish outside the top 6, which they will. Hull FC will finish outside. I just think they lost their chance, and I don't think they can make the top 6. So it's only pride that they're now playing for. But I still think Wigan have a lot that they have to play for, and I think Wigan get home 1-12 here.
Look, I still reckon that Hull FC will keep their playoffs hopes alive, because I think that they've got the better, better momentum in a way going into this match than Wigan, because Wigan have been a bit up and down this season, and they're somehow in the top 6. I'm going to say Hull FC in a 1-12 margin.
You're back in the black and white. Well, I'm going for the cherry and white.
Yep. It'll be an interesting match.
I definitely think it will be intriguing to see how that result plays out. Now, we've got the Warrington Wolves coming off that defensive win up against Salford at the Halliwell Joe home stadium now. George Williams' home debut against the Saints didn't go according to plan. What say his second game against Salford?
It's going to come away with a victory. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I definitely I agree with that. I think Salford don't have the personnel to mount a
Nope.
suitable defence whatsoever. And
Nope.
more or less, as Warrington's left edge attack has been singing like a charm. Gareth Widdop has been a standout player for the Wolves all year, and the addition of George Williams coming in at the right time, they will go on with this. And I think Warrington come away a 13 plus victors.
Yep, I agree. 13 plus. Warrington have been on son. The halves of Widdop and Williams have been going extremely well.
They'll do it without Darryl Clark as well. I mean, Darryl Clark is huge for Warrington, but I think Danny Walker is more than capable of filling in those shoes.
Most certainly he is.
But if they get Darryl Clark back in time for the playoffs, I think there is some good fortune waiting Warrington heading into the big games.
Yes.
And certainly. Big games require big teams, and the Catalan Dragons are one of those. The league leaders will be able to parade their new piece of silverware at home at the Stade Gilbert Brutus in front of the Huddersfield Giants. It's the same story here as well.
Yeah. Catalans are going to go on with it and win 13 plus. Huddersfield will not stand a single chance.
No, they won't.
It's going to be a blowout score.
Yeah, it will. Huddersfield have not stood up all year. And again, I thought Huddersfield would finish just outside the top 6, but to finish as low as 10th as they had, with very winnable games, aims from start of the season until now, it has just not gone Ian Watson's way whatsoever. And I definitely agree. Catalan win 13 plus.
And Catalan, like you said, will be showing off the new silverware to the home fans, which will further boost their confidence.
And on the other side of Hull Kingston Rovers will play host to the Castleford Tigers at the Hull College Craven Park. Now, this is going to be another one of those mouth-watering clashes. If second v fourth wasn't juicy enough, try 6th playing away to 7th on the table.
Yeah, so this one is a do or die basically for both sides. Whoever loses, I'd say, will be out of the playoffs, and whoever wins will be in the playoffs if results go their way. That's how I see it. I don't know who yet until I say my prediction.
There's still questions of Castleford and personnel, because if they get personnel back like Richardson, O'Brien, and coming back into this side, I think they have the edge over Hull Kingston Rovers. And look, I know I had Hull KR low in my estimations at the start of the year, but Tony Smith has happily demonstrated that Hull KR are definitely a worthy contender. And adding Lachlan Coote to that back five next year will definitely be signs of improvement.
Massive improvements.
But I think it'll come from Jordan Turner again. I think he will play a pivotal role in the Casper Tigers' success in this game. I think many would definitely argue he's been buy of the year for Cas. And I think Illa in East Yorkshire, I think the Tigers secure a 1-12 victory and go on to play in a September football.
I'm going to go the opposite way and say Hull KR will play this one and will go on to play into the playoffs, like I mentioned earlier. Whoever wins will go on to make it the playoffs. Whoever loses will be out, and I think Hull KR will win this one 1-12 and make it to the playoffs.
And finally, for round 24, the Lee Centurions in their final home game of the season against Wakefield Trinity.
Wakefield are being on song. Well, not quite on song, but they have been playing a lot better than what they have been throughout various stages of the season. And Lee, yeah, we know what they've been like.
It's a Wakefield 13 plus win.
Well, Lee had that one win against Salford. That's above them on the ladder. Well, everyone's above them, but just above them. Wakefield, I think, is only in 10th, I believe.
I think 9th at the moment, because I said Huddersfield were 10th.
Well, there you go, so 9th. The Centurions will be hoping to go out on a high. for their final home match in the Super League before they get relegated down to the Championship. For the fun of it, I'm going to say the Centurions to win 1-12.
Okay, last week we both predicted the Bulldogs would win just for a laugh, but this is the Dogs and Lee are not comparable in the slightest.
No, but the Dogs did have more wins
the
than
record
the
show
Centurions.
that I acknowledge that Canterbury and Lee are not in the same league. I mean, they are, but the Dogs are so much better than Lee.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, for the fun of it, for the second last round, I'm going to say Lee 1-12 to have their final win at their home.
All right, it's your funeral. All
Could be
right,
yours, yeah.
well, that is full time from us. If you liked either this part or the NRL debrief, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, ring the notifications bell so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Join us next week. We'll look back on the first week of the NRL finals. We'll also take a look back of whether our Super League top 6 predictions panned out the way we thought they did, and who knows what else we might throw into any one of these. They could certainly use with improvement and humour from the hosts.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our piece. Along with Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, folks.